Welcome to the Bodhi Academy. My name is Shrutika and let us continue with the part 2 of our chapter Breathing and Exchange of Gases. So in our previous part we have studied what is breathing, how the mechanism of breathing is, what is inspiration, what is expiration, and we have also seen the human respiratory system and how it works. Okay, so in our today's class what we will learn is exchange of gases. So how this exchange of gases takes place in the human respiratory system, this is what we are going to cover in our today's video. So in human respiratory system, exchange of gases, that is carbon dioxide, exchange of gases, that is taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. So taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. How these two things happens in the human respiratory system, that is termed as exchange of gases. So exchange of gases takes place at two sites, the alveoli to blood and between blood and the tissue. Okay, so alveoli is the site inside the lungs in the human respiratory system which facilitates the exchange of gases, that is taking in of carbon dioxide and then supplying it to the other parts of the body and giving out of giving out of carbon dioxide from the human respiratory system. So how this thing happens, okay, how this alveoli to blood and between blood and the tissue exchange of gases takes place at these two sites. So this is because of the diffusion membrane. So this happens due to a simple mechanism called the diffusion. So diffusion membrane is 3-layer thick, okay, that is alveolar squamous epithelium, endothelium of alveolar capillaries and basement substance between them. So how this structure of this alveoli is, so this alveoli wherein the exchange of gases takes place, that is here in the so here see the air. So this is a balloon-like cavity inside the bronchioles, inside the lungs, okay. So this is the site for what exchange of gases. So what happens is the air, oxygenated air is taken in and this is the site where the carbon dioxide is released out from the alveoli. Okay, so what happens over here is this alveoli consists of three parts, that is the basement substrate, this is the basement substrate, okay, then it consists of a squamous epithelial tissue. So it has a thick wall made up of squamous epithelial tissues and it is supplied with what? Blood capillaries wherein the red blood cells flow. So this will bring what? The deoxygenated blood and this will take the oxygenated blood to the other parts of the body. And it also consists of another tissue made up of another tissue, that is the endothelium of the blood capillary. So it consists of endothelium, then basement substrate and squamous epithelial wall. So this is the structure of what? Alveolar. Okay, so this is how the exchange of gases takes place inside the alveolus. Then we will see the transport of gases, as in how the gases are transported in the human respiratory system or inside our body. So the transport medium is basically blood. So all the oxygen and the carbon dioxide is dissolved inside the blood. So blood is the medium for what? Transport of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Most of the oxygen, that is 97%, is transported through what? RBCs and remaining 3% by the blood plasma. So blood consists of what? RBCs, WBCs, platelets and the plasma. Okay, so mostly oxygen is transported inside the blood through what? Through RBCs. Okay, and 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported by RBCs. 70% are bicarbonate and rest 7% is found in dissolved state by the blood plasma. So this is how carbon dioxide and oxygen is transported inside our body through the blood, which is the medium of transportation of carbon dioxide and oxygen. So now let us see how the oxygen is transported inside our blood. So transport of oxygen. So hemoglobin in the blood in the RBC combines with the oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. So our blood consists of RBCs, and RBCs consist of a pigment called as the hemoglobin. This hemoglobin will bind with the oxygen which is there present in our blood to form what? Oxyhemoglobin. So this oxyhemoglobin will then help. The oxyhemoglobin is basically a combination of oxygen with the hemoglobin, and with the hemoglobin pigment the oxygen will be also carried to the different parts of our body. So each hemoglobin combines with 4 oxygen molecules. Binding of oxygen is related with the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide, hydrogen ion concentration and temperature. So the partial pressure of oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen ion concentration and temperature. So these are the factors on which the binding of the oxygen depends in the blood. So the percent saturation of hemoglobin and partial pressure of oxygen forms sigmoid curve, that is oxygen dissociation curve. In the alveoli, oxygen is more and PC oxygen is less. Less H plus ion concentration and low temperature favors the binding of O2 with hemoglobin, that is oxygen with the hemoglobin. So at lower temperature the binding is favored, where opposite condition in tissue favors dissociation of oxygen hemoglobin. Okay, so this is how oxygen is transported in the blood, wherein it binds with the hemoglobin pigment and then it forms oxyhemoglobin and then it is transported inside the blood. So now let us see how carbon dioxide is transported inside the blood. So carbon dioxide is transported by hemoglobin as carboaminohemoglobin. So carbon dioxide will bind with the hemoglobin and it will form carboaminohemoglobin. Okay, carboaminohemoglobin is formed from the binding of carbon dioxide with the hemoglobin, and this is how carbon dioxide is removed from our body, from the various parts of our body. In the tissues, PCO2 is higher than the PO2 and PO2 is less, that favors the binding of carbon dioxide with the hemoglobin. So opposite conditions helps in dissociation of carboaminohemoglobin in the alveoli. Enzyme carbonic anhydrase helps in formation of carbonate ions to transport carbon dioxide. So here enzyme carbonic anhydrase helps in formation of carbonate ions, which will help in transport of the carbon dioxide, and this is how carbon dioxide is transported inside our blood. So this was about how the transportation of gases happens in how the exchange of gases happens in the alveoli tissue, and how the how the oxygen and carbon dioxide is transported inside our blood. So now let us see how the gaseous exchange at the alveolus and other body tissue happens. So in our body what happens is, this represents the tissues of the body. Okay, this is the body tissues, this is the heart, and this is the lungs. So inside the lungs there are alveolus which helps in facilitation of the exchange of gases. So what happens over here, this is the process of double circulation. Okay, so from the body tissues, the carbon dioxide is taken to the heart through the vein. Okay, so veins carry the vena cava, that is the main vein, will carry the deoxygenated blood from the other body tissues to the heart, and from the heart the pulmonary artery will carry that deoxygenated blood to the lungs into the alveoli, wherein from that the oxygen will be taken in and carbon dioxide will be filtered and it will be expired by into the air. Okay, and in the so from the alveoli, then the oxygenated blood will travel into the heart through the pulmonary vein, and from the heart it will travel to the other body tissues through the main artery, that is the aorta. Okay, so this is how the circulation of carbon dioxide and the oxygen takes place in our body, from the body tissues to the heart, and from the heart to the lungs, and from the lungs then the oxygenated blood comes to our body parts, that is the tissues and cells of our body, through what? Through the blood. So blood is the medium for exchange of all the gases. So now let us see which are the disorders related to respiratory system. So the first disorder is asthma. So it is due to allergic reaction to foreign particles that affects the respiratory tract. The symptoms includes coughing, wheezing and difficulty in breathing. This is due to excess of mucus in the walls of the respiratory tract. So this is the first disorder which is related to respiratory system. Then comes the emphysema. So this is the inflation or abnormal distension of the bronchioles or alveolar sac of the lungs. This occurs due to destroying of the septum between the alveoli because of smoking and inhalation of other smokes. The exhalation becomes difficult and lungs remain inflated. So here the inflation of the lungs happens. So this causes what? This is caused due to smoking or inhaling other smokes. So this is caused due to inhaling smoke and other polluted smoke. Occupational respiratory disorder. So occupational respiratory disorders occurs due to occupation of individual. This is caused by inhalation of gases, fumes or dust present in surrounding of workplace. This includes silicosis. This includes silicosis, asbestosis due to exposure of silica and asbestosis. The symptom includes proliferation of fibrous connective tissue of upper part of lung causing inflammation. So this causes inflammation due to inhaling the fumes and dust particles. Then the last one is pneumonia. So pneumonia, it is acute infection or inflammation of alveoli of the lungs due to bacteria Streptococcus pneumonia. So Streptococcus pneumonia bacteria causes what? Inflammation of the alveoli of the lungs. Alveoli becomes acutely inflamed and most of the air space of the alveoli is filled with fluid and dead white blood cell, limiting gaseous exchange. So here what happens, due to the Streptococcus pneumonia, the inflammation of alveoli happens, and that inflammation causes the airspace of the alveoli to limit the gaseous exchange, because mostly the gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli of the lungs. So there is no gaseous exchange taking place, or it is limited. So hence the person is not able to breathe properly. So this is how pneumonia is caused. So this was the disorders related to the respiratory system. So in our today's class, what we have learned is how exchange of gases takes place, then how the transport of carbon dioxide and oxygen takes place inside our respiratory system, and also we have seen the disorders related to the respiratory system. So thank you for watching today's video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe.